it sounds too good to be true. Is it really true? Yes, it's really true. And multi-billion-dollar companies have been doing this all along. We are just now getting to do it because we can bring the system where we have the installment sale and the bank, the private money coming together. That was the piece that was missing, is there wasn't a system. So yes, it's legal and it's really not too good to be true. It's just good.
Welcome. You're listening to the Apartment Investing Show. This is where you'll learn how to start or scale your apartment investing career. Your host, Adam Adams, has syndicated multiple apartments over the years. Adam and his guests will show you how to create residual income by investing in apartment communities. Now, here's your host, Adam AAA Adams.
Hey, my friends, we are live on Facebook, and we're recording an episode for our YouTube and podcast right now as well. I know that there's a lot of people that love 1031s. There's a lot of people that have tried 1031s and have unfortunately missed out and lost a lot of money, to be honest, is because they thought that this property was going to go through. There's all these things behind what people tell you with the 1031, but nobody really tells you all the risks associated with doing a 1031 exchange. And in this episode today, I wanted to share with you, with Lori and her help, she's an expert at this, on creative ways that you can still sell that property and defer the taxes, but you don't have to jump through the same hoops as a 1031. You don't have to go through all the regulations that a 1031 has. You don't have to make sure that that property sells at a certain time and that the other one closes at a different certain time, and you're trying to manage it. And if the seller or the buyer make a mistake, that you lose all your money and it's no longer tax deferred. There's a lot of issues with a 1031, but there is a better way, and that's why I have Lori Greymont. Lori, why don't we get started? Why don't you tell us a little bit about what you've seen happen with clients that have tried a 1031 and why they're starting to work with you?
Sure. So Adam, one of the things that happens as a RIA owner is I hear all the horror stories. And so whenever you hear somebody bleeding out on you, it's like you want to find a solution. So I found the solution. But let me just give you a little story, a recent one. A gentleman reached out to me in a panic because he had just sold nearly a $10 million apartment complex and was looking to deploy that into multiple assets. And he was out of the country. He lived out of the country, trusting a broker to help him identify the properties. Now, if you're not familiar with the 1031, when you sell and you receive that cash, you're not actually receiving the cash. It goes to an intermediary. And you have 45 days to identify replacement properties for your money. And once you identify those, you have 180 days to actually buy them. And what most people don't do is over-identify. They just go in and they identify the properties they really think they're going to buy. And of course, you can't do really good due diligence in 45 days. So anyway, his broker identified all these properties. And it came up past the 45 days. It was coming to the 180th day. He was at 179. He calls me. Of course, it's a little bit late. And he finds out that his broker is a crook. That all of these properties that this broker identified were properties that the broker was JVing with another individual, and they weren't worth anything as to the value that he was telling his client they were worth. And so now this guy didn't have anything else identified and was going to take the hit on the taxes on $10 million. That is not an uncommon situation where you get to the end and you're past your identification period and you either have to close at a higher price on those and not pay the taxes or pay the taxes. And so we do have alternatives where we can help people not get to the 180th day and go, oh crap. We were able to help him. We were able to put him into an opportunity zone fund, which after January, he was able to recoup all of that. But, don't put yourself in that situation with those timelines, and especially trusting somebody else to do the identification for you.
Oh my gosh, that is crazy. Close call.
Yeah. Yeah.
Paying taxes on $10 million is not a small amount of money.
No.
So, but you got it all worked out. You saved him from it.
We did.
Okay, good.
We did. Yeah.
By the way, just real quick for anybody listening on the show, two things. Number one, it really doesn't matter if you're doing land, if you're flipping land, if you're holding land, if you're doing long-term land holds. What do they call that? Land banking. This will work for you if you're doing your single-family house, if you're living in it, if you lived in it for a year, if you moved out, if you whatever. Single-family, duplex, fourplex. This is going to work for you. So if you're about to upgrade from land to a house, it'll work for you. If you're going from a fourplex to a 200 unit, it'll work for you. If you're going from a 200 unit to a whole bunch of single family things, whatever, this strategy works for you, and you don't have to worry about all the timing. If you somehow didn't, what I see all the time, Lori, is people that they say they've got 45 days, and you already addressed part of it where they didn't address enough properties, but they've got these 45 days. They pick one. They want to invest passively, like in our deals, and so they'll be like, all right, I'm gonna identify your property, and we're gonna do this special way of. It's not usually easy to use a 1031 into a syndication, but there is a way to do it. And so they'll say to me, I'm gonna identify yours. And I'm like, no. What if we don't close? Right. What if we find something in the due diligence and we don't close? And you've only selected that one, you're gonna be screwed. Your money's gonna be screwed, and I'm gonna feel like it's my fault. And so with the system that we're working with, this is a legal system to be able to still defer the taxes and to be able to still sell that property, but you don't have any of these hoops. You don't have to worry about the regulations. You don't have to worry about the risks of not identifying the right amount in the right amount of time or closing on something in the right amount of time. It's still going to work.
It is. I've got a couple case studies, Adam, that, this works whether it's a business. So like dental practices, doctors, vets, a lot of those 1031s went away, with the new regulations. So they don't have any options. So we can help them. Like you said, all the different real estate classes we can help. $50 million shopping center, apartment buildings, founder share like Shazam. We can help all of these type of companies. The only caveat is that the net proceeds have to be $500,000 or more. And from there, we can help you defer your taxes, your capital gains taxes for up to 30 years. And in that 30 years, if you plan right, you won't even have any capital gains tax to pay because you can offset your operating losses against those gains. So it's an awesome tool.
So if there's a listener, and these times we are recording right in the midst of COVID-19 and stocks tanking and just crushing, good people. And there's a lot of people that they need to liquidate. They're planning on selling a house or an apartment building or land or whatever. So the two things, let me say three things. The first one is, as far as Lori, she is in the leadership boardroom with me. I trust her. The reason I have her on the show is because she's a great person, and other people in our very small mastermind know each other. Second thing that I'll say is, just because you're listening, just because you're watching right now on YouTube, on Facebook, or wherever that you're getting the show, there's usually a $150 consultation fee. So like if you've got $500,000 or more that you need to protect, that you need to save, that you need to not have to pay taxes on, and you're selling something, it's worth a free call with Lori to just at least kind of go through the options and see if you really think you should do a 1031, or if you think you should do her strategy, let her go through this with you, because my main goal here is to help you not spend a whole bunch of money. So if you got $500,000 or more that you're about to pay taxes on, please set up a call with Lori. I think it's just, is it call with Lori or speakwithlori.com?
Yeah, it's callwithlori.com.
Okay, that's easy. Call with Lori. If you want to have a call with Lori, go to callwithlori.com, LORI.com, and just save this, because I just get so nervous about the times that we're in, uncharted times, not sure if it's going to take too long to close, if you're going to be able to identify the right amount. And so you don't have to rely on the being inside this box of a 1031. Think outside the box. That's what I always say. Think outside the box. Callwithlori.com. Anyway, sounds like a sales pitch, and I apologize, but seriously, if you got 500,000 or more that you're going to waste, or you could potentially waste, don't do it. Just go to callwithlori.com. Save yourself thousands and thousands and thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars, if not millions. Anyway, Lori, how does it work though? How does this work? How do you defer the taxes? What are they going to be going against instead of doing a 1031? And so basically, what are the drawbacks, or how does it work? And what are the benefits, if you can?
Yeah. So essentially what we're doing is we're using a tax code that's been around since 1913. It's the installment sale tax code, which tells people that if you are not receiving the principal sales proceeds, you don't have to pay taxes on it. And so we structure a sale in an installment sale where you're not receiving your sales proceeds. So that defers it for 30 years. But then we give a private loan for almost the same amount. So you walk away from closing with money. You know, in a 1031, if you walk away with money, you have to pay taxes on it. And here we're providing opportunity to defer the taxes for 30 years and allow you to walk away with money. And right now, everybody's looking for liquidity.
If they want like dry powder just pretend as if, and I'm not saying I'm right on this, because I don't have a crystal ball, but I did own an apartment, multifamily in 2008.
Yes.
And I lost that apartment, but I didn't lose it in 2008. It literally took me 3 years I was bleeding. I was paying the mortgage while I wasn't getting paid by my tenants. And it was really rough. It was really rough on me. That apartment, that multifamily that I had in 2008 that I owned in Orem, Utah, a long time ago. But with that one, what I noticed was the economy, we got hit with something, but like I said, I didn't lose it right away. We dipped for a couple of years. So I'm not saying this will happen again, but I am saying if we're thinking we would like to have some dry powder, we would like to get rid of our property now while it's at the closest high that we possibly can think of over the last little while and over the next little while. And we're just trying to save dry powder. You said we can't do that with a 1031.
No.
But it sounds like you'd be able to do that here. Like get this money and have the cash. And then like in 2 years or something, we find a perfect property we feel good about where we are in the market. Then we can buy it with this cash. Is that kind of?
That's correct. That's correct.
Gosh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, exactly.
Good deal. Well, I didn't mean to cut you off. I totally meant to cut you off. I did cut you off, but why don't you keep going?
Yeah. So anyway, this has been around, the installment sales have been around since 1913. So there's plenty of tax code that supports it. And then the other part is in 1980, it was, I believe it was Congress said that it was okay to receive a loan in connection with an installment sale and still receive the tax deferral. And so that's what we do. We're using the tax codes. And we've had one of the, I think one of the greatest tax attorney CPAs in our circle look at it, John Heyer, and he is like, he loves this. You know, he spent an entire 3 hours dissecting it in one of his webinars and said, yeah, absolutely. This is real. This does work. And you know what people forget about in the 1031s is the carryover basis. Okay, so let's talk about this. We buy real estate, we depreciate real estate because it shelters the income. But if you continue to roll over, like you take one building, let's say for $450,000 and it appreciates and then you sell it, when you roll that over, you're losing that basis. You're losing your depreciation basis every time you roll over. So what if you were to cash out that $1.8 million building and then go buy a $3 million building? Now you get depreciation on the $3 million, not on the 1.2 in between. And that 1.2, I mean, that's a difference of $1 million over 27 years. million
Wow.
dollars of cash that you're receiving off the building that you are not paying tax on. So not only is it
Cool.
capital gains tax, it's ordinary income tax because of the depreciation. I mean, do I get excited? I love this program. It's just like the answer to many people's problems.
Yeah, I really just feel like right now I just have so many people in mind as we're speaking that are going to be selling, and they're going to need something like this.
Yes.
They're going to have 500,000 or more in net proceeds. Can you tell me? Can you clarify what you mean by 500,000 or more, or not just me, but anyone listening?
Yes.
Like, what exactly does that mean? Does it mean the sales price is 500,000? Does it mean the whatever you gained on it needs to be at least 500,000? Just tell me that, because there's going to be other people with that question.
Sure. So we use the term net proceeds, and what that is it's your sales price minus your cost of sales. So like your real estate agent, your title company, anything, if you're a business, your business broker, whatever that number is, that's your net sales proceeds. That doesn't include paying off loans or anything, but at that number right there, if that's 500,000 or more, we can help.
Okay. That's different than I thought. I was like,
yeah,
this only has to be big ballers who made 500,000. If they're selling it for 550 or something like that, it'll probably work as long as the sales price is.
And here's the thing, we have a way that we can put multiple properties together. So like right now I'm working with a repeat client who has some properties in Ohio, and he's selling 3 different fourplexes. And so they have different closing dates, but we have an intermediary we use, and the funds go to the intermediary, and then we combine all those together to get the more than 500,000.
Okay.
And this also works the other way, Adam. So sometimes there's people that are in an LLC together or a company together, and they don't want to continue doing a 1031 together, because that's the way it has to work, is whatever your entity is, right?
Yeah.
So this is the same thing. We put all the funds into our intermediary, and she splits it out. Everybody can go their separate way and not have to pay taxes.
This episode was made possible by Adam's Inner Circle program. This exclusive group is a collection of industry leaders, influencers, passive investors, and strong operators. This is the type of community you want to join, where we come together multiple times each month, virtually and in person. We support each other, invest with each other, and even interview each other on our podcasts, and invite each other to speak at our live events. If you're ready to take your real estate investing to the next level, this is the group for you. Fill out an application today by following the link in the show notes.
So we always have this issue. So I close on larger apartments, communities that we have. It's called limited partners and general partners. So my team, generally, we run the show, and then we have passive investors that invest in the deal with us. And we've had a lot of issues with people that they say they want to invest, and they are using a 1031. This happens every deal. I get 4 calls every single deal, easy. And they'll say, I have got a 1031 and I want to be in your deal. And I'm like, I don't know if we will be able to do that, because we're going to have to do a tenanted common, or we're going to have to do this other, fancy thing. And so it hasn't made sense to try to get this 1031, because randomly enough, if it's called like for like in a 1031, it's one of the drawbacks. So they can't go from owning a property to owning a share in an LLC, because that's technically what they have. And so I just need to understand, yes or no big deal either way, but we're going to probably start using you if you say yes, with all of our clients, because there's people that come to me all the time that say, Adam, I need to get in your deal. And I'm just like, I can't figure out how to make you get into this deal, because the lender's not going to let me have you be on the property. You would have to be, it's like this long ordeal. I'm trying to wrap this up, this question. What does it all mean? Because people come to me and I always say, no, we can't take your money. I know you got $2 million. I'm sorry. I just can't. It doesn't make sense. And I can't do a CMBS loan assumption with you on the loan. So I can't take your $2 million. And so I've had to reject some money. What would happen if they were working with you? Like, would I actually be able to have them investing in my deal or not?
Yeah, I'm going to be your best friend.
Yes.
So here's what happens. They already have a buyer lined up, or they wouldn't be talking to you, right? So they're trying to figure out, how are they not going to pay taxes? So we simply get introduced to your client, and within 7 days of them closing their property, that money is liquid and back in their hands to invest with you as cash coming in, like every other cash investor, into your syndication. And for them, their taxes on that sale are deferred for 30 years.
Lori, there's over 1,000 syndicators that listen
Yes.
to this show.
Yes.
Over 1,000 syndicators. So let me just go over something real fast. Some of those syndicators that listen to this show that have my problem, and they felt it too, they've been like, I'm sorry, I can't take your 1031. Now they've got a savior. Now they can figure this out. The question is, we talked about you being able to help the person who's selling the property, and with a $150 completely free consultation just for our listeners.
Yes.
The question would be, what about all my syndicators that could probably use you dozens of times per year? Can they get a free consultation with you?
Oh, of course. Yes. Just head out to the website, call with Lori, and definitely we'll talk to them.
I'm literally losing out on millions of dollars every deal that I have, because it's not always making sense for me to be able to do a 1031.
Right.
There's a lot of listeners right now that are like, holy cow, Adam, why didn't you tell me before? I've been trying to invest in your deals, haven't been able to. So this is so awesome. Okay.
Yes.
So, but also you only get the $150 consultation if you say where you heard from it, because she's going to charge you $150 like she does with everybody else, unless you say, I got you on Adam Adams' show, and that's where I heard from you. And then she'll knock it down, because we're in the same mastermind together. We're good friends. We're close. We trust each other. And so she's doing that just for our people. So don't forget to let her know where you Adam Adams' show.
Yes.
All right. So Lori, what other parts of this do you think, in your experience, you've taught this way more. I'm barely learning with you, right? So in your experience, what are their natural questions going to be right now that we need to help them understand before they are ready to make that call with you?
Sure. So a lot of people want to know, is it legal? And I've already indicated, yes, it is legal. We've already had it, vetted multiple times. And just to let you know, our clients typically range anywhere from 500,000 to 30, 40 million. And the reason I say the 30 or 40 million, they come with their own team of attorneys, and they have vetted it. And so it's 100% valid. You might say, okay, is there going to be enough money for everybody? Yes, because we are backed by commercial banks, and even in this crisis, they still have money. They're calling saying, can we lend you some money? So they're out there. That's not a problem. Some people say, well, what if I die before the 30 years are up, right? Because if we're deferring the taxes for 30 years, what if they die? It's set up hassle-free. I mean, this happens automatic. Everything is hassle-free. And at the end of 30 years, the estate that's handling your estate would file the tax return and pay the taxes if they are due. And I say if they're due. Typically, if you are doing this, you're going to work with a tax planning crew, and you're going to work to defer those taxes and offset those taxes. So even at the end of 30 years, you necessarily aren't going to owe anything. It sounds too good to be true. Is it really true? Yes, it's really true. And multi-billion-dollar companies have been doing this all along. We are just now getting to do it because we can bring the system where we have the installment sale and the bank, the private money coming together. That was the piece that was missing, is there wasn't a system. So yes, it's legal, and it's really not too good to be true. It's just good.
You know how with a 1031, you have to have that intermediary.
Yes.
Just even to make it legal, right? You
Yes.
got to put that. So I don't know how it works with doing this way of getting around using a 1031, getting around having to go through all of these other regulations and hoops and the risks. Unfortunately, there's a lot of risks with a 1031. So whether or not you could do it on your own, like what does your company do for somebody? Like why, let's just say I wanted to do this. Like why would I work with Lori as a consultant instead of like trying to figure it out by myself or whatever?
Well, and you can certainly try to do it by yourself. And that's where, the multi-billion-dollar companies were able to do it by themselves because they had the resources. But I don't know that many people have the resources to put all of this in place because there are a few moving parts, and we have a team of attorneys that have put it all together. So the main thing is you're going to have two players. You're going to have a capital asset dealer that is going to buy your asset and create the tax deferral. And then they're going to immediately resell it to the buyer. So that's just sort of like the intermediary and the 1031 does the same thing. But then we have a private lender that comes in and gives a non-recourse loan. I don't know any private lender that's going to do a non-recourse loan unless they have a system set up like we do. And that's the piece. And because the capital asset dealer and the private lender are not together, but we have both pieces, we can bring this system together.
Awesome.
So
it just makes it a lot easier, and the T's are definitely going to be crossed.
Absolutely.
You've got a bunch of attorneys. Okay,
yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
And so you said on the smallest end, you want the net proceeds to be around $500,000 or more, which means at least a $550,000 sales price, I would say. But you've worked with clients up in the $30 million range, and it's still like you're still adding value, you're still helping them, it's still working, you're still able to get these giant non-recourse loans for $30 million.
Yeah, no problem.
Wow.
So like there was a $50 million shopping center that went through this process. And in that shopping center, they had a $34 million gain. So like they had a pretty significant gain. They'd owned it for a long time. And what people kind of forget about are some of the recapture. Like you have to recapture your depreciation. And you have a tax called debt over basis. So if like you went and borrowed money, let's say you bought the building for 7 or 8 million, but now you have 15 million on it, meaning you refinanced it and took money out. Now you have to pay tax on that. That's debt over basis. People forget about all these things. So this particular client was going to have to pay over 20 million in taxes between state, federal, recapture, more than half. And so after paying off the debt and paying off all the taxes, they would have walked away with 12 million in cash. But with our program, they walked away with 30 million in cash. And their taxes were deferred for 30 years. Do you think they can put that 30 million to work for 30 years to pay the taxes in 30 years?
Absolutely, yeah.
For sure. And if they do it well, they offset the taxes and it's not even due in 30 years.
Awesome stuff. All right. So if you're listening, if you're watching, I would share this with somebody that you know is either a syndicator and they need to have this aha moment like I just had. They're a syndicator and you're like, now you can actually take that money because we've got a way for you. Yeah. Or if you know that they're trying to sell a property and they're thinking about doing a 1031, save them. Protect them, save them, get them out of all the regulations, get them out of having to jump through the hoops, get them out of the risk of like making sure everything's exactly timed right. I would definitely have them listen to this so that they can learn, there is another way. It's not only another way, but it works better and it's legal and it's going to protect you and get you away from some of this stuff. So this is one of the only times that I have a show that I'm like, please share it because I know that you could potentially be saving somebody $30 million or even $100,000 by just letting them know what this is, and that'll protect them. So, Lori, any other details that we should share before we hop off the show?
I think it's important to recognize that this works on businesses too. And I just want to say that again, because not a lot of people recognize that, they think if I'm selling a dental practice or a doctor practice or, even a business, a startup, I'm just going to have to pay my taxes. But the reality is you don't have to pay your taxes. We can help with this. We can help with any capital asset that is not on the stock exchange.
Yeah.
Any capital
I didn't
asset.
realize that. I didn't
Yes.
realize that. So here we are on a real estate show, and we're talking about real estate, but you know, if you have a friend who's about to sell their tech startup that they're selling it for $30 million, so you probably ought to forward this to them before they spend a whole bunch in taxes. It could be the single best thing you do for a friend today. So interesting stuff. I enjoy getting into this and learning a little bit. I'll have you on the show again, just kind of bring it back up, because I'll be honest, I don't understand the entire process, but I think that's okay, because I can work with you and I can still get my investors to invest in my deal. So awesome stuff. Lori, the best way to reach you is to go to talk to Lori?
No, call with Lori.
Call with Lori. I'm so bad. Call with
Lori,
LORI.com.
That's
CWL, callwithlori.com. And then you'll charge them $150 for a consultation. But if they say that they heard about you on Adam Adams' show, completely free, right?
Completely free. We'll waive it.
Okay, cool. Thank you. I really appreciate you doing that for us. And I hope not too many people call where you can still breathe, but enough call where you're helping a lot of people. So
yeah, thank you.
I really appreciate coming on. Go to callwithlori.com and schedule your consultation. If you're a syndicator, if you're selling a business, if you know somebody selling a business, or if you're just trying to sell your 500,000 or more property, she can help. I'll let you go, but until next time, my friend, think outside the box. As a reminder, any investment opportunities mentioned on this show are for accredited investors only. And if you're interested in working with me and my team, then go to realbluespruce.com and click Get on the List. It's that simple. Just click Get on the List to start passively investing. This has been an episode of the Apartment Investing Show with me, Adam Adams. All rights are reserved. And if you haven't done so already, then make sure that you absolutely smash that subscribe button, and I'll see you on the next episode.